Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Professional Staff Recruitment Guide and Webinar. We're so excited to have you joining us today. My name is Rachel Aldis. I'm the Director of Residential Life at Northeastern University, and I'm really excited to welcome you to learning more about Northeastern and all we have to offer within the Department of Residential Life. We're excited to have you be part of the webinar. I'm sure many of you have done this at this point, but there is a control panel that shows up on your screen. Within that, you'll see a chat box, and I want to let you know that you're welcome to write any questions that you have for us in that control box, and we would love to answer as many of those questions as we can at the end of our presentation today. So please enter all your questions there. Also, if the control box does get in the way of you seeing the screen, there is a little orange button on the top left of the control panel, and if you just hit that orange button with the arrow in it, it'll hide the control panel. When you have a question, you can just pop it open, type your question, and then hide it again. So just want to give you a quick update on how it works and hope that that helps you. But let's go ahead and start getting things underway. I have an exciting team of people who are here with me today to help, and so I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Hi, so my name is Ryan Anderson. I'm an assistant director in residential life here. I'm one of currently 4 assistant directors. We will be hiring for a 5th assistant director at TPE next week, so that's exciting. My areas of responsibility are professional staff and graduate staff, recruitment, selection, training, and development. I also chair our assessment committee that will be starting up for next year, as we'll be doing the EBI. I've been here for a little bit over a year, and yeah, that's it on me.
Hi everyone, my name is Armina. I'm a current first-year residence director here at Northeastern. I just started last summer in July. I oversee International Village, which is a mixed population of our first-year honor students, and then a sprinkle of upperclassmen and transfers in that as well. And I currently serve on 3 committees. I co-chair our Diversity and Social Justice Committee called New Exchange. I also serve on our Professional Staff Training, Selection, and Development Committee, and then also our First-Year Experience Committee.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Panett. I'm a residence director here at Northeastern. I've been at Northeastern since 2013. I oversee Stetson East and Lighthall, which are 2 first-year residential communities with 5 LLCs within those communities. During my time here at Northeastern, I have been on a multitude of committees. Currently, I'm on the RA Training and Selection Committee, our New Exchange Diversity Committee, and also doing some work with the Pro Staff Selection Committee as well.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Northeastern's mission and values. Just briefly, could somebody just put a note in the chat box just to make sure you all can hear us? And if you have any issues, let us know. But if one of you, of course, you're not going to know, but somebody just type in there that you can hear us. I get paranoid sometimes, I guess. I don't know. So in terms of our mission and vision, I think you can. Oh, great, thank you. You can hear me. Good to know. Good to go. Audio is fine. Perfect. Oh, all of you. Okay, wonderful. Good. Thank you very much. Good. So you can see it there. I don't know if we have anybody who has phoned in or not, but I'm just going to read it here in case anyone did. So Northeastern's mission is to educate students for a life of fulfillment and accomplishment and to create and translate knowledge to meet global and societal needs. Northeastern's core values are contribution, diversity, engagement, integrity, and opportunity. In terms of our culture, we are a unique institution in the sense that only less than 30 years ago, 20 years ago, we were nowhere near, I guess you say, the status of where we are now. We shot up the ranks in the past 20 years very quickly, very intentionally. We're now in the top 50 schools in the country. Essentially 20 years ago, we were a commuter school with many parking lots, which we quickly learned was one of our greatest resources right under our feet, quite literally. We turned those into residential halls and residence halls, and I'm sure, as you're aware, the effect that res halls have on retention and really just about any metric of student success. It helped us start shooting up the ranks. Clearly, that was not the only thing that helped us, but I would like to think it was quite significant. So that helped us quite a bit, and we now have quite a few new residence halls. We have, in fact, one that just came online in January. Students here know what they want to do. They come in knowing that our flagship experience is the co-op program here, so they're extremely driven, they're extremely experienced and involved on campus. They have professional experience, so they're going to be mature students, more mature than I think students I've worked with at other institutions. And in terms of the work culture, it's fast-paced. I would say we are on the business end of the spectrum sometimes in terms of the expectations for professional communication and turnaround time with email and how quickly decisions need to be vetted and made. There's a very high expectation for customer service. I think being a highly ranked institution, it draws a certain kind of student and a certain type of stakeholder and supporter and parent, and so there are expectations with how those situations are handled. You know, that we are delivering good customer service. In terms of the staff, people stay a long time. I think there's a number of people here who have been here a long time because they love the work that they do. It's a beautiful campus. The students are great in it. It's really a great position. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel now to talk about the department.
Great, thank you, Ryan. So the department mission, I'm going to read this. I know for most of you can see this on your screen, but the Department of Residential Life strives to create a safe and inclusive residential environment which develops and supports opportunities for intellectual and social development and prepares students to become purposeful contributors to our global society. And to do that, we really focus on the core values of community development, academic engagement, inclusion, citizenship, and experiential learning. Ryan talked a little bit about the co-op program. You'll hear a lot about it throughout this, but that's a big component of our experiential learning, and it's why it's such a core of really all the work that we do at the university. You'll see that embedded throughout everything that we do here. It's important to know that the Department of Residential Life falls under Student Affairs, which is part of what we call EMSA, or Enrollment Management and Student Affairs. So we fall under that dual vision, or those kind of dual departments, and we fall under the Student Affairs side of that. With other offices like our Center for Student Involvement, UHCS, which is our health services, what we call OSCAR, which is the Office of Student Conduct and Conflict Resolution. We also work closely with a student support team that we call We Care, and we have a lot of connections with NUPD, which is outside of our department or outside of our division, but is an incredibly close partner in all of the work that we do. So we have a lot of great ties with various offices that we work closely with to make sure that we're creating as much of a seamless experience for students as we can. So we do have, because we are a big department, we have about 34 people in our department right now. Because of that size, we do have to take time to get together. So you heard Armina and Ryan talk about all the committees that they're on, and so they have their committee meetings that they're going to. Every Tuesday afternoon as a department, we meet either in your area, so with your direct supervisor, or as a department. So we rotate that every other week. We have those meetings. We also have your staff meetings, which happen every Tuesday night with your RAs, and that time may vary depending on the RAs that you have and their time commitments. But every Tuesday night we have department meetings and staff meetings with your RAs. And Ryan talked about this. We do have high attention to detail. There are a lot of administrative duties. There are really a call for high attention to emails, to getting paperwork in on time. But it's also really important to know that we focus a lot on relationships. And it's really, community building is an incredibly high value that we have in the department. And so we do want you thinking about programmatic things and how you're developing as a team and, all of those aspects of things. So those are really high values of our department. And that's why I kept community development as our #1 core value. So really try to find that great balance between having that administrative work, but also that real focus on students and community development. So that's a little bit about us. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and Armina to tell you a little bit more about Northeastern and Boston and all the great things that you can do here.
Awesome, thanks. So I'm going to go a little bit into just Northeastern as a whole as an institution. So one of the unique things about Northeastern is with a lot of urban campuses, it's a lot of buildings that are on a long stretch of a street. That might not seem like a campus, but when you enter our campus, you feel like you're on a campus. If you walked into our campus off Huntington Avenue, you're surrounded by academic quads, residential quads. It really does actually feel like a campus and not like you're in the city. You can still see the skyline, but you feel at home and on a campus feel. So we sit on 73 acres in the Boston Fenway neighborhood, and we have just over 21,000 students, undergraduate and graduate and law students, here at Northeastern. and they all they all get the most out of their experience here. Just a couple other facts. We are a private institution. About 10,000, just shy of 10,000 of our students live on campus. Our classroom ratio is 13 students to one faculty member. We also, in addition to having our folks that live on campus, we have a large fraction of students that will live off campus as well in the surrounding neighborhoods. So when you're on campus and in the neighborhood, you're surrounded by Northeastern students, which gives it a great feel in the Fenway neighborhood. Ryan and Rachel both mentioned it already, but the co-op program here at Northeastern is very big. We value experiential learning, and the students that come here want to get that experience before they graduate. So they're taking all sorts of opportunities to work full-time for 6 months during the co-op rotation, but they're also encouraged to study abroad. We have six weeks classes called dialogues that will take students abroad that they get academic credit for. We're also a big emphasis on community service and also research. So there's a lot of other things that the students at Northeastern can get into and get involved with, and they definitely get involved. They are one of the most involved group of students that I've ever worked with, which is great because they do a lot of really great things. And because of that, that's led, like Ryan mentioned before, to us being ranked number 42 in the country, which is awesome. And a lot of our students are super proud of that because even if you look back 5 or 10 years ago, we were still in the hundreds range and not up to where we are now. So it's been a kind of a meteoric rise that our students have been along for the ride, and they work to make sure that they're pushing that every year as it continues to go on. A couple other facts. If you're a sports fan, the Huskies are a Division I athletic program. Hockey plays in the Hockey East Conference. The men's basketball team is in the conference championship tonight against William & Mary down in Baltimore for the CAA title. If anyone, they're on the bubble for March Madness. If they win that, they're in, which is pretty great. So all in all, with our campus community, it makes it feel like home for students and makes them want to be on campus and engage within that community.
So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the neighborhood that Northeastern kind of surrounds itself with. So many of you may have heard or know that Boston/Cambridge have a very high Italian and Irish culture, lots of great restaurants and different areas to visit. So we are closest to the Fenway neighborhood and kind of in between Longwood Medical and Back Bay. Fenway is obviously where Fenway Park is, and also lots of great sports bars to watch games at and surround yourself in that fun environment, especially during the summers and on the weekends. And that area also has Longwood Medical close by to it, so most of the healthcare hub that Boston has is really closely located, which is awesome whenever you need to go make a trip to the doctor. And then Back Bay is right down the street from us as well. Well, again, lots of great restaurants and lots of good things to do on the weekends. We have a lot of outdoor movies. Summer and spring are hopefully coming up here soon. And so we'll be going to festivals on the weekends and going to an outdoor market called South Washington Market, which we all love doing on Sundays. And also going to Shakespeare in the Park and those sorts of things. The financial district and downtown are mostly where you'll find young professionals to hang out with in Boston, which is really great that they're so close by, if not a short train ride away if you don't feel like making that walk. But Boston in general is a very walkable location. The city is much smaller than I thought it was going to be when I first got here, which is great. I took a train one place and found myself exactly knowing where I was because I had just taken a different route to get there the day before. And then also, campus is right between the green and orange lines, if you're familiar with our MBTA system, our subway system. So we're right off the Ruggles stop on the orange line, which is very convenient. And then the green line also has Northeastern stop as well, which is right on our campus. And then, of course, Cambridge is just a short ride away, too, if you ever want to go take a tour of, Harvard or MIT and see the historical Cambridge College campuses, which is fun.
So I'm going to share with you a few more facts about Boston. This is reminiscent of my childhood days of history class growing up in the Boston area. So, Boston, as you hear all the time, is a college town. We have about 645,000 residents in the Boston area, and around 300,000 of them are students. On September 1st, that population surges. And the city comes alive. Not that it's not alive in the summer. We still have an awful lot of students that are on campus in the summer. But there's over 50 institutions right in the Boston metro area. It seems that everywhere you turn, you'll be on a new college campus. But that makes it an incredible environment for higher education. If you're a higher education nerd, there is so much that's going on and so many people that you can learn things from in the area, and the networking events that come up are great. So as a few other things, as Armina said, Boston's subway, referred to as the T, is America's first subway system. Boston Common is the oldest public park in the country. In the summer, you can find people hanging out, having picnics down there, playing softball or soccer. In the wintertime, you can skate on Frog Pond that's down there. It's always a great place to go. If you're a baseball fan, or even if you're not a baseball fan, Fenway Park is the oldest stadium in Major League Baseball. It's considered a mecca for some sports fans, and it's a really great take, and it's literally just across the Fenway Gardens from our campus, so you can get there in less than a 10-minute walk. In addition to that historical landmark, there's a lot of other things in Boston that are tied to American history, specifically the American Revolution. There's a lot of different things that you can go, things that are still in existence, or tours that you can do that point out the turning points and the moments of the American Revolution. In addition to that, there's the Freedom Trail that has a lot of historical sites along the way. That is a great take. We have some programs that will lead students on that, so it's a really good opportunity for students to get out and you to get out and learn about the city. The Boston cream pie was invented at the Omni Parker House in Boston, and it's now Massachusetts' official dessert, and the Omni Parker House is still open. And so Boston is also considered to be a very inclusive and progressive city. That's one of the things that every mayor, every city council member for the longest time has made sure that Boston was going to be an inclusive city, welcoming to all, and making sure that everyone's rights were upheld within the city. So there's been a lot of effort in that, and you can really see it when you're walking on the streets of Boston. If you are a movie fan or just like celebrities, there's a lot of famous people that come from Boston that you can still see walking around the streets, whether that's Tom Brady. He still lives in the Back Bay now before his mansion gets built up in Brookline and he moves up there with Giselle. But Ben Affleck, Amy Poehler, Conan O'Brien, Mark Wahlberg, JFK, all notable residents, and you can still see them, a lot of them around, bumping into them on Newbury Street or downtown somewhere. So there's a lot of different things that are going on in Boston, a lot of good things to take in. I'm from the area, and I still haven't done everything that's possible to be done in the Boston area, which I think is great. And you can find yourself on the weekends getting lost in areas you didn't even know exist.
And if you like presidential libraries, JFK's presidential library is right off the Red Line, which is so fun, and I love it. I'm such a nerd. So whether you like hiking, camping, shopping, sightseeing, going to beaches, whatever, you name it, there's a lot of things around Boston that can get you to those things. So New England is very small. There's many states densely populated in this area. And so you can go to Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York City, and everything is probably accessible by bus, by train, by ferry if you want to go to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. You really have a lot of options, and it's nice because all these things are fairly cheap to get to if you're taking public transportation, or within a couple hours, if not like 30 minutes. So as far as summer and spring events go, or even fall, fall in New England is gorgeous. It's probably one of my favorite times of year. I mean, I've only been here for a year, but I absolutely love it. So going apple picking, going leaf peeping, going sailing on the Charles River, doing ghost tours in any of the neighboring cities, or even in Cambridge if you want to learn about like John Harvard, is super fun. The Bean Pod hockey tournament was just a couple weeks ago, and Boston or Northeastern's men's hockey team was actually in the finals, which was super exciting for our campus. And then the Head of the Charles is another popular race to go to, which is basically rowing and crew teams on the Charles River, and they don't have to be affiliated with the university to participate, which is super fun. And additionally, if you want to not bring a car to New England, which I abandoned my car at my parents' house when I moved up here, there's always Zipcar and Enterprise car share options close by, and they're really accessible and fairly cheap for people who work at a university or are a student.
So I'm going to go a little bit into our department structure and give a little picture of what that looks like for us. So as Rachel mentioned before, we have currently 34 people in our department, which is makes up a big department. But so just to give a little breakdown, so Rachel is our director, and then we have our associate director, who under the associate director falls our facilities coordinator, which is a full-time staff member that looks after everything facilities, and he's fantastic. If you ever have an issue, to reach out to Mark and get an issue taken care of. He's our direct line to facilities. And then we have 5 assistant directors. Each of our assistant directors directly supervise RDs and GAs. RDs mentor grads that are in their halls, and the grads are assigned to different halls, but grads also have functional areas. The grads in our department don't necessarily run buildings, but they all have functional areas working with an assistant director, but also work closely with an RD in a building as well. In addition to the assistant directors, actually, I'm going to backtrack a second. So our five assistant directors all each have a functional area. So whether that be first year experience, second year experience, student conduct and leadership, professional staff recruitment, selection, development, student staff professional selection, development, and recruitment. They all have their areas that they are that they oversee, and then also have committees within those areas as well. So under the 5 assistant directors, we have 19 residence directors, all of which we operate in a kind of autonomously within our buildings, and we're given that autonomy to run our buildings how we best see fit within that, especially with the makeup of the community. And under us is our 229 RAs, a rather large group of RAs, but that number is growing to meet the needs of our students. As our campus population number keeps growing, we want to make sure that we're still meeting the students where they're at and giving them what they need. So Rachel has been great in asking for more RAs and getting more RAs, which has been phenomenal in growing our student staff as well within there. As I mentioned, we have the 6 graduate assistants that are in the department with their functional areas. And on the right side of the screen there, there's the functional areas as well as committee assignments. So as I mentioned, professional staff selection, training, and development, RA staff selection and training, first year experience, the second year experience, our new exchange committee, which is our diversity initiatives within the department, our assessment committee, which Ryan is heading up, and also the housing task force. Housing task force is getting the res life side of things to try to see what we can work together with housing on to improve processes and make sure things are being streamlined and the services we're providing the students are the best that they can be.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about how our communities and complexes look. We have over 35 residence halls and over 9,000 on-campus students, undergraduate and graduate. We have a first and second year live-on requirement, which is definitely the majority of that population. So when you're thinking of terms of like student conduct and programming, those are kind of the major populations that you're targeting. As far as our residence halls go, we have a lot of different types of halls. We have those, like Ryan had mentioned earlier, that we built because we had parking lots there and that's what fit our campus the best. And then we also have land and buildings that we've acquired that are in the surrounding neighborhoods. So we have residence halls that are what you would imagine to be tall, skyscraper-like residence halls. Then we also have old brownstone buildings that may not look as traditional as you would expect. And so you could have multiple buildings because you have smaller residence halls, or you can have one large building. We have one RD on call for each side of campus when we have our duty rotations going. We're usually on duty for a week at a time, Thursday to Thursday. And Area 1 has one person on duty. So Area 1 is primarily upper class students. Of course, there's a few first years sprinkled in there, but that's the majority population. And then Area 2 is primarily first year students, again, a few upper class students, but also has an RD on call, which is super helpful when you're on duty if you need someone to call to bounce ideas off with, in case you need help responding to an emergency that you may not feel comfortable approaching. And then the assistant director is on call above you if you ever need more assistance. And then, actually, I think that's it. Okay.
So talking a bit about living learning communities. Living learning communities are a huge part of our first year experience for students. All of our first year students that live on campus are placed within a living learning community. And we found that those living learning communities greatly enhance the student experience here at Northeastern. So we have over 20 living learning communities on campus, ranging from ones that are academic-based to those that are thematic-based. Academic-based being some College of Science, College of Health Science, Engineering, in each of those working with a faculty liaison within that. Or on the other side of the house, we have thematic LLCs. That's the LLCs that I have in my building are leadership, community service, green living. And we also work with staff and faculty liaisons in those living learning communities as well to make sure that we are developing those communities and having that shared interest. So right when students get to campus, they know that their neighbor has the same interest that they are. Or in the academic LLCs, when they know they all have a test together, they can study together or compare notes and make sure they are prepared for that. So with the faculty liaisons with that, there's a great opportunity for the RAs to reach out and program with them, get connected to other faculty members for the academic living learning communities, bringing faculty members in for a study session is a great thing as well. In addition to our living learning communities, we also, for first year students, we're also next fall rolling out second year thematic interest communities, which we ask students if they'd like the opportunity to live in a community that's, again, focused on a theme for their second year, and we got an overwhelming response that said yes, they would. So we developed a couple of those second year thematic interest communities, and right now we're going through the process of we had students apply into them, so we're reviewing those applications and getting them into their housing so we can roll those out next fall, which is very exciting as well. Armina's going to, I know I jumped a little bit into Armina's bit about faculty involvement, but she's going to dive in a bit more.
So kind of like Ryan had mentioned, we have a fairly close relationship with our faculty liaisons or academic liaisons if they are staff members, which is absolutely wonderful when it comes to programming. So in our programming model that Rachel and Kara had developed for our communities, there is one requirement that you do have one faculty involved program per year. And that is usually more collaborative than you would think. It's not just a faculty member attending, but most faculty members will actively take a role in planning the program and having a big hand in it, which is absolutely great. There is a faculty appreciation week that we have coming up next week, actually, which we're super excited about, where we appreciate all those faculty members who come and program in our halls, who have a close relationship with our RAs, who are recognized and nominated to be Faculty Member of the Year, and we are excited to thank them next week. And then we also have 3 spots on campus for faculty and residents. So there's 2 apartments for faculty members in International Village, and then 1 in East Village, which is our newest building that just opened in January. And faculty and residents have to apply to be our faculty on campus, and they probably program more than most faculty members on campus. They are required to do a couple programs this semester, attend staff meetings of the in-hall staff that they live within, and then also assist RAs if they have questions. So one of our faculty members, Reebok, came to our RA training back in August and gave a great session to RAs on how to approach that email communication with a faculty member and reach out and say, hey, I want to program with you. What does that look like? So there's definitely a good, close relationship that exists there.
So compensation and benefits. Within our role, the RDs are full-time live-in professionals, and we have a $35,000 annual salary, which is paid semi-monthly, so typically on the 15th and the last day of the month. That salary has recently been increased, thanks to Rachel again. Thank you very much, Rachel. Rachel does a great job of fighting for the RDs, and when we are bringing up a proposal or something that collectively as a group we think we need, Rachel will go to bat for us as long as we have a good reason for it on the back end. So in addition to that, some other, we are offered 22 sick days for your first 2 years that you're in the job, 15 days of vacation, 3 personal days. We also, if you're taking time to go to a conference, those days won't count towards your vacation or personal days. In addition to that, so when we have, as Rachel mentioned earlier, Tuesday night of our staff meeting nights, when Rachel came in, she said, you all are working late, so Wednesday morning, why don't you come in late to try to balance that out and really work towards that good work-life balance to have, which we all know is difficult to find in a RD role, but Rachel does a great job of trying to make sure that we stay on that. Also, if you're on call for a holiday or working Labor Day weekend, which doesn't exist in higher education, we get floating holidays for those. Also, other days like RA training, RA selection days that we're working on weekends, we'll get days of rest, again, to try to maintain that work-life balance within that. In addition to that, we have health insurance options for dental, medical, all of those different options of retirement plans that you can enroll into. If you come in with, once you hit 2 years of experience, 2 years working and have money in a retirement, the university will start to match at 2-to-1. We get 19 meals a week on campus for the dining hall, and we have 3 different dining halls on campus, so it's not like you're going to the same one every. I mean, you can go to the same one every day if you find one that you like, but there's a lot of different dining options that you can go to, all that are pretty great. In addition to that, you get 8 guest meals per semester and 120 Husky dollars. Husky dollars work on campus at different locations and also in the community. We have a Starbucks and a Dunkin' Donuts on campus, so most of my Husky dollars go to Dunkin' Donuts and are gone pretty soon because I tend to go to Dunkin' Donuts quite often. But those are great to have, so you're not reaching into your own pocket to pay for those things as well. In addition to that, we offer tuition remission for our staff members. If you want to further yourself in any area, we offer a lot of great grad classes that are here. That'd be a conversation to have with your supervisor. As long as you are doing the job that you need to within your RD role, I've found it's been pretty supportive in expanding on that for professional development. Speaking of professional development, you will get, right off the start of the year, $1,000 to put towards any professional development you want. So whether that's webinars, conference attendance, that's been another thing that Rachel has got for us, and making sure that we are, when we're in this role, we're taking the time to develop ourselves and put ourselves out there. And also as an incentive to go out there and put ourselves and also the Northeastern brand forward. If you present at a conference, you also get an additional amount on top of your $1,000 that you're already given for Pro Devo. So it's a great incentive to get out there, present on something you're passionate about, do the work with that. And Rachel and the rest of the admin team want to make sure that that's something that we can do and that not being limited by those funds as well. Sorry, I'm being long-winded here.
Back up. Okay. So we're still here. Okay.
Discounted campus rec memberships and discounts at the campus bookstore, and also domestic partners and spouses are welcome. And that would be, as coming onto campus here, just having a conversation with Ryan and the rest of the assistant directors to work out that paperwork and how that works. Now
you're ready. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Now we're ready.
So just like Ryan had mentioned, as far as the partner policy goes, our living on campus accommodations are pretty much basic for an RD. We have furnished apartments, which are pretty nice around the board. Of course, every apartment looks different, has different amenities, but for the most part, they give you exactly what you need: a queen-size bed, a dresser, some living room furniture, a kitchen. The appliances, again, vary. So not every apartment has a dishwasher. Not everyone has a garbage disposal or something like that. But for the most part, you get everything that you should need. And then we also have some apartments that are larger than others for those people who have families and children or partners that need to be accommodated as well. And again, that is a conversation to have with your supervisor about getting access for them into the building. We currently do not allow pets in our residence halls, even for the RD level. But again, we try to accommodate everything that you might need as an RD. And this is a good time to talk about it, but living on campus is really great because you have other RDs that live on campus with you. So we definitely get together a lot of the time to watch the Grammys or the Oscars or the Super Bowl, or just to hang out on a Friday night.
Sing karaoke.
Sing karaoke, yes. We do lots of fun things together. So living together nearby is great for just accessibility and to have someone to hang out with when you need that extroverted social outlet.
As I went into a little bit before, there's great professional development opportunities within this role. Off campus, getting out to different conferences and having that $1,000 base to get yourself to conferences and taking webinars that might be happening online. Also, but to participate in local organizations and social events. One of the good parts about being in Boston and New England, there's so many schools, there's so many people that are in the area for you to network with and get to know. And I'd say that the New England area is pretty close-knit. When you go to those conferences and you work with people in other institutions, you start to get to know a lot of people and are able to expand out in those areas. On campus, there's a lot of opportunities to develop professionally as well. So you can teach a leadership course for our first-year students, which is called a Lead 360 course or Blueprint. You can sit on university or division committees. There's a program that you can apply to be a fellow within the Enrollment Management and Student Affairs Division that works on a lot of high-level tasks, which is a great opportunity if you want to get up in the upper-level admin. That's a good opportunity to start to get that experience. We're encouraged to give presentations at department meetings if there's an area that you feel passionate about. Pitching it to your assistant director and Bree and Rachel, our associate director, and Rachel, our director. To share that knowledge with the rest of the staff and to be able to develop your skills as well as a presenter. Again, participating in webinar opportunities, advising a student group or a club. We have regular divisional professional development opportunities, and then in our department meetings too, we try to make sure that we are developing in that sense too. We don't want to be stagnant. We want to make sure that we're always building our skills here at Northeastern. In addition to that, there's other opportunities that might come up. This past December, we hosted the Niakuho Res Ops Conference here on campus, which was a combination between, it was really an all-play from our whole department, but it was really good opportunity. I had never planned a conference before, and I was in the mix of receiving the bid to get the conference, working out all the finer details with it, which I didn't think I would have that opportunity, but that was something that when we said we wanted to do it, there was support all around. So that's another great opportunity that was given here, and again, things we look for as a department to make sure that we're growing professionally.
So on this slide, you'll see two testimonies come from two of our current resident assistants who, one is actually one of our senior resident assistants on campus, and then another is, I don't want to say just a resident assistant, but a very great student leader. And we have, similar to what Ryan had said earlier, 229 RAs on campus currently, which has recently increased, and I'm sure will continue growing. And our ratios for our resident assistants vary, so a resident assistant can have anywhere from 20 to 60 residents right now, but again, we're working on making that smaller to really cultivate those relationships. Our RAs currently have a programming model that I mentioned earlier with the faculty involvement, but there's 5 programming goals that we expect from them every semester, and then they also are expected to have engaged conversations with all their residents. So within that first 6 weeks of school, which is very crucial to retention and student success, making sure that every resident has a relationship and a conversation with their RA to feel welcomed and to feel they have a resource to go to on campus. Every RD does have an SRA, so we have the SRA position right below the RD position, then the RAs underneath that. And the SRAs don't necessarily supervise the other RAs, but they're more of mentor roles and people to go to if they need help with anything. And they also work very closely with Hall Council. And then, another thing to mention about our RAs is that, again, with the co-op system and the experiential learning, we definitely revolve around that. So RA training, RA selection, those things are definitely scheduled to accommodate late nights and weekends for those students who work regular business hours for their co-ops, which also means that, like Ryan Panett had mentioned earlier, we get days of rest, we get flex time, and that sort of thing to accommodate our schedules.
So in addition to our RA roles, we also have a lot of things within our department that are for just general student leadership. So we have the Resident Student Association, the largest student organization on campus here, and also the National Residence Hall Honorary on campus is a big chapter as well. RSA is really the big programming board for the residential community, NRHH also for the residential community, a lot more about recognition, but also doing programming as well within that. A lot of our students and student leaders choose to engage within these organizations because they want to make sure that students are getting the opportunities to have the best living experience within the halls. So it's very good to get a lot of our RAs are involved, but also students who maybe aren't so inclined to be RAs, but they engage within the RSA and NRHH communities as well. NRHH is champions of the month awards that the RAs fill out, pro staff fills out, anyone on campus can fill it out to give recognition, which is always great in our roles. And they attend, your typical regional conferences, but also national conferences as well. Our students have done very well as of late at different regional conferences and national conferences as well to bringing home the hardware. They have won some awards. NRHH won the Program of the Year award for their Give 5 program, which is a philanthropy event. It seems like every time they go to a conference, they're coming back with some type of hardware, which is really good, and it's really just a testament of the hard work that those students are putting in. They're really passionate about it, but also the advisor of that organization as well, and the rest of the work that's done by the residential life department to support those students and to make sure that they're provided with all the resources that they need. A couple pictures here that are on the screen are a couple of our, one of my RAs actually wearing the moose hat there at a conference, at the NEACUR conference, and also students led on an apple picking trip by RSA. Great programming body, but also a great student leadership organization that is developing those students in a lot of different ways to make sure when it's finally time for them to lead us, that they have gotten everything they can out of their residential experience.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. That is a little bit about our department, or quite a lot, depending on your perspective about our department and what we have to offer. At this point, I know we are certainly accepting applications for our residence director position, for our assistant director position, and we're hoping to have an anticipated opening of an assistant residence director that will post very soon. And so we'll be searching for those 3 jobs at the placement exchange. If you are interested in applying, you can contact Ryan Anderson with all of your questions. You can see all of our contact information up there. So you can email us with any of those. And we are scheduling interviews and things for the placement exchange over the next week and a half until that event actually happens. We don't have a specified number of vacancies at this specific time. Some are anticipated. Assistant director is 1. Residence director is, we're going to go with flexible at this point. So anyway, that's us. We would love to take your questions now. So if you open back up your on-screen control box and you can type in your questions into the chat box, and we are happy to answer as many questions as you have and help you get to know our department to the best of your ability. So yeah, go right ahead and do that. So, Armin, I know nothing's coming yet, but maybe you could talk a little bit about what it's like to be on duty. Like, what is a duty night like here?
So duty around here is, again, very targeted towards a lot of first-year and sophomore problems, issues. And so as far as the drinking alcohol culture with the 21 legal drinking age, that would be the majority of the incidents that you would find when you're already in your residence, because we have a larger underage population on campus. We very rarely physically respond to calls unless it is Title IX related, something sensitive in nature like a bias incident, or if an RA just needs some backup, we're always willing to be there, especially for new RAs when they're on duty for the first time and just need that support. And then again, you're on duty with another RD, so if you do need to respond to something, it's always nice to kind of have that backup with you as well. The majority of the calls we get are from NUPD and the RAs, or our police department on campus. And then we have an office called the Residential Safety Office on campus, who supervises our front desk workers, so our proctors that are kind of gatekeepers to our buildings. And they will call us for a lot of the issues that are related to facilities. If a resident comes downstairs and says, hey, can you call the RD for me, I have an issue. And so all those calls will usually be filtered through the Residential Safety Office on campus.
So we have a question coming here asking some qualities that we look for in residence directors. I guess the question a lot. It's a great question, and I think the way I typically answer it is I say, the first thing that I say is not necessarily a skill or ability. It's attitude. It's your affect. It's how you approach teamwork, your work with your peers, your excitement for the field, positivity, just a positive nature, being solution oriented, looking to do what you can to help the program and to help your peers. I think after that, definitely it's looking at things like being very administratively strong, being able to juggle a lot of different priorities, being just good with attention to detail, basically things like that are some of the things that I look for. You guys chime in for things you look for in candidates otherwise?
I would echo kind of what Ryan had mentioned at the beginning, but like those inherent qualities that you just can't teach, so being passionate, being charismatic, having a good attitude, and being positive are things that we definitely look for. But the other things are trainable, right? So we can teach you how to be on duty and respond to incidents. We can teach you accountability documents for your RAs and that sort of thing. But I think those inherent qualities are really important.
I think for me, when looking for a colleague, just someone, again, going to be passionate, and when, it's res life. Res life is going to be res life wherever you're at, so having that flexibility, and when things come up and, you have a duty night that the phone keeps ringing, but to take that in stride and have that flexibility and to be able to kind of roll with the punches at that moment and see the positivities out of crisis and make sure that we're providing that good student touch and student interaction and student development, and making sure that you're keeping those in that kind of, the positive light, having that good attitude and making sure that, you are there for support for your other colleagues and making sure that you're taking one step forward with the entire department.
So I'm going to scroll up a question we had here about duty. And if you want to, you don't have to put questions to the entire group. If you want to send questions just to me as the organizer, so not everyone sees them, that's perfectly fine. Either way is fine. The question about assistant director on call. Yeah, so at all times there's 2 residence directors on call and 1 assistant director. So we're going to have 5 assistant directors. We each take a week at a time, so it goes Thursday to Thursday. It's really not a terribly intense on-call experience as an assistant director, and it's really easy to get coverage whenever you need it, so that's not a problem. Let me scroll down here. So there's some fellow karaoke fans in the room. What role does a placement assessment play in your department? Sure, I can answer that. So we do assess our programs. You know, we have the living learning communities, and the assistant director for the first year experience and LLCs. Her name's Kara Curcio. She actually does the assessments with her residence directors, the assessments for those communities in terms of the first year population and making sure we're hitting our learning outcomes. We also do other bits of assessment throughout the year based on need. In terms of the EBI Student Satisfaction Survey, we're on an every other year cycle right now. So this current year we did not assess it, but next year we're going to. As you're probably aware, we're able to ask our own ISQs institutional specific questions. So we'll add those at the end to try to get at maybe specific things we've been trying to achieve over the past couple of years. So in terms of assessment, that's kind of a snapshot of what we do there.
There's other ways too, as RDs, if you want to take things on kind of a smaller scale within your building. I do a lot with my RAs and their programming. You know, we have all the post-program paperwork, and we can pull reports of their paperwork. So if you want to get that kind of thing in your building, you can also do that as well.
So someone recently asked about the campus climate and achieving inclusive excellence for all of our students. We have a very diverse campus at Northeastern, a high population of international students, and students that just come from all across the country, different backgrounds. And we have many offices that support those. So currently we have the new exchange committee within residential life that is our diversity social justice initiative, where we train RAs during training about different ways to approach those conversations, to have inclusive language, and to hold programs in their hall. One of our programming goals every semester for the RAs is that they do a cultural competency program, which again is up to the discretion of the RD to approve or not approve, but we do expect that from our students to encourage that. We also have cultural centers on campus that we work very closely with. So we have an Asian American Cultural Center, a Latina Student Cultural Center, a LGBTQA Cultural Center, a Social Justice Resource Center, a Center for Spirituality, Dialogue, and Service, and a African American Institute. Yes.
Off the top of our head, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
No notes there, folks. Just off the top of our head. That's great.
And so those committees send out newsletters to all the RDs fairly often with campus events that we promote within our halls. And we also require our RAs to have a tag-along program. So those events and those newsletters are very heavily looked at as tag-along programs for RAs to take people to. And those cultural centers, again, they let us come every department meeting last semester, gave us a tour of their facilities, showed us who their staff was, answered some Q&A for us. And they definitely have like hubs. So the Asian American Institute, for example, has bubble tea talks every 2 weeks, I think, where staff and students can come and just hang out and have a conversation about what it's like to be an Asian American student at Northeastern. And so those are definitely a lot of popular events that are held on campus.
Okay, next question we have here is, we mentioned that the role is more administrative in nature sometimes, and just ask kind of what kind of administrative responsibilities does the residence director face on a day-to-day basis. So Ryan Panett's going to take that one.
Sure. So there's a lot of different things that we have that we need to make sure that we're crossing off on a day-to-day basis. All of the RDs on campus serve as hearing officers for conduct. So, you know, some weeks it could be more heavier for conduct, or some weeks it can be lighter, but we don't necessarily hear everything within our building. It's heard equitably across the board. So the incident reports come in, our conduct grad then sends them back out. So if your building is full with a bunch of troublemakers, you're not the only one getting all that conduct, which is actually really nice. So finishing out those conduct processes is part of the administrative tasks. Committee meetings, everyone's on 2 committees, so you'll have those meetings that will come up out of the course of the week, and whatever other tasks are assigned with that. In addition to that, we oversee the programming paperwork for all the RAs, so and our SRAs do a good job of kind of filtering through those and getting the first set of eyes on it, but ultimately it comes to us to be able to make sure that those programs are hitting what we need them to hit for goals. And then also if there's any money that is associated with those programs, we would be the one to approve the funding, send it up to our student affairs business office to get the funding approved with that. But then again, on the back end, making sure that the receipts are done. We're managing the budget within that. Also, managing housing occupancy. Our housing office does a really good job of managing that, but when it comes to room changes and needing to know when people are moving into rooms, outer rooms, managing that process and making sure that students don't slip through the cracks so we don't know whether they've moved out, moved in, where they're at. In addition to that, filing facilities reports. Every Monday we're responsible for putting in our facilities report. That's where Mark comes in and follows up on any of our concerns that we have, which is great. But again, taking responsibility over your building to make sure that you're doing that. So once you get into a rhythm, it doesn't seem, it's those tasks that you get into, but I would say those are probably the 5 things that are the largest part of the administrative role. But that's not to say too that there's not times where you're going to have that interaction with a student. A lot of times what I'll do is make time in the evenings to be able to stop in the staff office or go to programs and interact with students to make sure that you're getting that touch, because there might be some days that are administratively heavy and you might not have that much of an opportunity to see students. Other days there'll be not a lot of meetings on your schedule, so you're going to interact a bunch with students, but making that extra effort to make sure that if you want to have that very high student touch, that there's opportunities to make that as well.
So another question here, asking about applying for the position if you don't have res life experience. We actually have, I think, at least 2 staff members right now out of our 19 RDs that came to us without a traditional residential life background. So it certainly is possible. We totally recognize that there are transferable skills. That being said, we have an anticipated assistant residence director position that is that we're hopefully is going to get pushed through, and so we're taking a resume. Well, we will be shortly taking resumes for that. So that's one way to get some great res life experience off the bat. Check out, watch TPE in the next, probably not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. I'm going to post the assistant residence director job. So if you know someone that might be interested in that, you can pass that along to them. Next question. So somebody asked about not being able to pull up the job description on HR. So for the residence director position, it's anticipated, which means we don't currently have any vacancies. We're anticipating staff to leave. I know we have 2 staff members who are graduating from advanced programs that may be job searching in those fields. We have other staffs who are job searching, looking for that mid-level position. So we're anticipating that we'll have some vacancies. We just don't have them yet. Same thing with the assistant residence director position. It's anticipated, and so we're waiting on that one as well. So some help with this one, folks. What would you all say are the biggest challenges residents at Northeastern face? What would you guys say?
I think right away, I think they dive in 2 feet and get themselves way over involved. Being in an institution that's ranked number 42 in the country, they can really get themselves get themselves kind of overextended and drawn out pretty thin. And they want to do all those things because everyone's always saying, you got to get involved and do this and do that. I think that's a challenge for them when they have to start saying no and they start to have to really kind of leverage one thing against another. But I think for them, they want to take in so much, and sometimes they back themselves into a corner where they can't fight out of it. But that's where we come in as staff members to be able to support them through that, guide them through that decision making of, hey, maybe 7 clubs is too much. Maybe think about 6 or 5 or 4 or something that's more manageable, so you're not running all over the place. But I think that's a good thing that our students are involved. But I think one of the biggest challenges they face is they think they need to be all over the place, and they start to get themselves a little bit stressed out.
Yeah. So we have another question here on how's the department made efforts to educate and inform students on sexual assault and relationship violence prevention and education. This is a fantastic question. We've been giving, obviously a lot of attention has been given to Title IX recently. We've certainly done a number of trainings for our resident assistants as well as our residence directors and all of our professional staff so that we're fully prepared to deal with that. The campus itself has several positions or several people who are dedicated to training and helping students and educating them on violence. It's called VISION, and I'm never going to remember what the acronym stands for.
Inclusion support.
It's a lot. You may go on the list. It's a big acronym.
It's a big acronym, and it is the group and office that really focuses on making sure that we're educating our students on sexual assault and how they manage that and things they need to consider. This is a big part of what we're doing, and obviously, as is true for all institutions across the country right now, this is a focus of the work that we are doing right now. So it looks like it stands for Violence Support Intervention and Outreach Network. There we go. We finally got vision.
So next question, what are some things that you've learned from the students at Northeastern? So
One thing that I have learned / appreciated from my students is how self-aware they are. And I think, again, the experiential learning piece plays a lot into that. As far as accountability goes, I find myself not having to hold my RAs as accountable as I have at previous institutions because they will come to you and say, look, my week is really busy. I have a lot of tests and midterms. Can I have an extension on this bulletin board? And communicate that in advance, which is really great and awesome because it builds that good relationship and it prepares them more to be professional and mature in the workplace as well.
So we got time for one more question here. Let's see. Can you discuss your relationship with working with offices at your college, for example, security and maintenance? So one thing, so for me, I've worked at an urban institution before, but never one that had such a, I guess, for the way that people get in the buildings, you basically have to hand your ID card to what's called a proctor. They look at it to check your face matches your ID card, then swipes it. So it's not a traditional front desk experience. So it's called the Residential Safety Office is what runs the proctors. They have about, I want to say something like 600 staff on their payroll that rotate throughout our 30-some-odd residence halls. So there's always 24/7. There's always a staff member, a proctor, at that front desk, and their really sole responsibility is just making sure that no one gets in the building who isn't supposed to. They have on speed dial NUPD, the RD on call, and the RA is on duty for that building. So that for me was a unique experience. I think coming in and and you can't bring your friends in unless you live in that building. As a residence life staff member, you get a sticker on your ID card, so you can bring other folks in. But they take safety and security very seriously on this campus. And the NUPD presence, the police department presence on this campus, we have a great relationship with them. But this is not the kind of place where you come to report to a scene for a situation and you're telling the campus police what to do. These are straight up real cops, and they come on the scene and they are handling it, and you kind of stand back and just wait until they ask you if they need anything from you. So that's serious. In terms of the facilities and maintenance, can you talk about how we work with them?
Yeah, so facilities and maintenance, like I mentioned before, we have our facilities coordinator that's on campus with us and working the regular hours for us. So he's our main person to work with for facilities concerns, but after hours, calling through to facilities to their number over there, we can usually get someone out to handle an issue and make sure that's done in an appropriate amount of time and working through their work order system and who they have that's on call for them. But it's great to have Mark within our department, because anything, even if something didn't go right on a weekend or after hours or something there, you let Mark know the next morning, and Mark's going to follow up and tell you exactly the reason why something maybe didn't get done, or if they had to order a part that, some of that information that might not come back the other way, Mark will get the information and make sure that we have what we need to communicate to students, we have what we need to communicate to parents, and make sure that we are covered in all bases with that.
We do have a pretty regular relationship with our cleaning companies that clean our rooms between residents and turnover, and so you will communicate with them directly, but again, Mark is the person to go to if you have any issues or follow-up about that stuff.
And just one final comment on that. Other offices outside the safety and security and facilities, with the other departments that we work with on campus, whether it's Center for Student Involvement or the Office of Student Conduct and Conflict Resolution, we have a pretty good relationship with them. There's a bunch of them that we see outside of work as well. That will come to karaoke with us or do do some other things on after hours of the weekend. So we have pretty good relationships with them as well.
So that was the last question that we were going to take, just a minute for the respective time. So in terms of TPE, I know most of you I think are probably going to be going to TPE. We're still reviewing applications and looking to book interviews at TPE. So there's still a lot for us to work through this week. So I'm definitely not done booking those interviews as of right now, both the first round and second round interviews. So you can expect I'm going to be reaching out to specific candidates this week and probably even through the weekend, trying to get that set up before we leave. Same thing for assistant director candidates. If there's any on the call here, I'm looking to finish up getting that schedule set this week as well. We like to run a transparent process. At any time, if you just want to know where you stand in the process, feel free to shoot me an email on just r.anderson@neu.edu. I'll tell you if we're looking at pursuing an interview with you and just haven't got to you yet. I'll tell you if we actually do not plan to give you an interview, and I'll also tell you if we just haven't even looked at your application materials yet. So that's also entirely possible. So we have a lot of folks to look at. So thank you so much again for coming and tuning into our webinar here. I hope it was informative. Like I said, if you have any other questions at all, please do not hesitate to shoot me an email, and we can answer those questions for you. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.